respectively 4 years ago, his daughter, Michelle, started asking me questions about my life. The first question she asked me was, "Uncle Bob, what were your favorite toys growing up?" And I thought, that's a silly question. And who cares? But the more I thought about it, I started to see a correlation between my childhood toys and some philosophical concepts that have impacted my life. Maybe one of these ideas or concepts will resonate with some of you, my fellow Toastmasters and guests. The first realization I had about my toys concerned my dad. And I realized almost all of the toys he gave me were really for him. They were mechanical or things that you had to put together. And my dad and I both soon realized mechanics and putting things together do not resonate with me. I was a failure. I had more fun playing with the boxes the toys came in rather than the toys themselves. This had to be a huge disappointment to my left brain engineer, scientist, build anything, fix everything father. But to his credit, he never showed his disappointment. Instead, at times he would actually compliment my feeble attempts at creativity with the boxes. This led to me starting to believe that I am okay just the way I am. That it is okay to not be okay. That we are all okay, just the way we are. Before my 4th birthday, we moved to Alaska. We did not have Xboxes, certainly no computers, cell phones, no electronic toys of any kind. I did not see a television until I was 12 years old, which was great because I got to play outdoors all the time. I am sure that all little boys at that time period loved to play with their toy trucks, toy tractors, and toy bulldozers outside in the dirt. I was no different. But my toy bulldozer, the bulldozer that I played with, was the real deal. The biggest bulldozer made by Caterpillar in the early 1950s. Every day for about 30 days when I was 8 or 9 years old, I would stand out in front of my house and wait for a Native American named Leonard to drive his big bulldozer down our dirt road headed to a project at the end of the street. Every day for about 30 days, Leonard would stop that bulldozer, pick me up, put me up into that big machine. That machine was as big as this room to me. And we would drive down the street and he would let me help him move the levers. Leonard was my hero. I loved him. And then on the one day that I did not go out and wait for him, his bulldozer rolled over and killed him. That was my introduction to death and sadness. But it led to learning one of the greatest lessons I ever learned. Eventually I found out that all sadness passes. To this day, however, I cannot see a bulldozer without thinking of Leonard and feeling a tug on my heart. Of all the childhood toys I had, 2 of them stand out as either directly or indirectly impacting my life and my philosophy of life. The first was a hammer. Not a toy hammer, a real hammer. When we moved to Alaska, I was in awe of my dad using that hammer to build our house. And then on my 4th birthday, he gave it to me. That hammer was my pride and joy. I used it to smash things. And then, early in December, my parents brought home my little brother. When my mother went to check on him for the first time in his bassinet, there was my hammer, lying on his chest, almost as big as he was. My parents told me that David wasn't quite ready for the hammer yet. It should be used only by a big boy. And they gave it back to me, and I went back to smashing things. But my dad and mom made me so, they told me they were so proud of the fact that I gave something that I loved to someone else. And I think that helped form my belief that it is probably better to give than to receive. The other toy of significance was my tricycle. Not because it was a tricycle, but because of where it took me and what happened there. Every day at 3½, I would careen down the driveway by our house in Oakland. Ride that tricycle down, turn it around, and push it back up. But every time, past a mysterious door at the back of our house at the lower level. I finally asked my parents, what's the door? And they told me that was the door to the coal bin. And don't ever, ever go in there. Well, the next trip down that driveway, that darn tricycle took me directly to the door. What was I to do? I went in. Surprise! There was a man standing there. He looked at me and smiled. And I was not afraid. He spoke to me and said, "Robert, just try and be God's helper." I forgot about the admonition. Oh, and then he turned and walked away through the wall. And I can see that today as vividly as I see Nate in the back of the room. And that's real. I ran up to my parents forgetting the admonition about not going behind the door, and I told them what happened. And I asked them, who is this God? Their answer puzzled me at the time, and I'm still puzzled by that. But then, my dad told me the man was not real, that it was a product of my imagination. Ever since that day, I have thought to myself, if anyone ever tells me they know who God is, or know about the true nature of reality, I will know that they probably don't know. And ever since that day, I have questioned the nature of reality. But I have never forgotten the man's words to this moment. And I've always thought it's probably a good idea to be helpful. There have been many philosophers in life who have said that our individual lives are like individual works of art. That we paint or picture as we go by our thoughts, words, deeds, and actions. And I want to say maybe even our toys. If that is true, then I see my bulldozer, my hammer, and my tricycle as paintbrushes, helping to paint a picture of a life to be lived, a life at least influenced by my childhood toys.